one of my years that I experienced, and I thought, I didn't fail, I progressed.
That's it. Yeah, there is no failure, right? I mean, we might say, hey, this is the end of one relationship or one business endeavor, whatever it is, but it's a stepping stone to the next, right? I mean, I think of the prior career I was in, and I'm thankful for real estate, and someone said, well, you know, that career got you to real estate, and think of those 10 years as like your combat experience that made real estate a little bit more, the perspective was different, right? It wasn't any easier. It's probably the same amount of work, the same angst. It was just my perspective was colored differently because of that period of time. And my wife and I kind of joked about it, but we're now, well, not just now, but a couple of years back, we realized how grateful we were for those really rough 10-year period of time, being on you know, WIC and just so many different things. But it just kind of made this world a little bit just a different place for us to be.
Yeah.
Right. What one would consider hard, I'm like, wow. So wait, we can make so much if we're just talking to 10 to 20 people a day. Like in our prior lives, we were talking to 80 people a day, and we made nowhere close to what you make on one transaction versus what we made in a year doing the other side of the business, right? So
it's all preparation for positive change.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we could end the meeting right there.
Yeah.
You know, let's go, guys, let's go. Cindy, that's awesome. You should, you know, and your voice is super cool. You should like do like videos, like short 1 minute, 2 minute videos with that.
The reels. I would
Reels,
share
yeah.
your videos, girl.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
All right,
Just tell us about what is this stuff?
It is.
Inspiring me. Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and start following you right now.
I love your slides. They're very positive.
There you go.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So session 4, defining your value. We're gonna go right into it. And we'll get out before 11 for Caravan, because Caravan's fun. Let's see here. So we're about to just finish Real Estate Expert, where we spark your career, our career, embrace our jobs, our businesses, our careers, connect with your market, and defining our value. So a lot of times when we talk about the message that we're portraying to people, I think Sonia said something really key this morning. When she called her entire database, she was under the impression that she was asking for leads and referrals and for them to do business. And then her TL, her coach, said, hey, no, you're calling to basically share your value and recruit them and build an army of people who know you as the realtor of choice, who know when real estate comes up, they should be calling Sonia, Roland in this case. And now we're going to define that value to say, hey, when we're out meeting people, it's not just the Keller Williams value, which we take elements for our own value, not the whole thing, but then we have our own value to buyers, to sellers, to investors, whatever niche market that we want to focus on, whatever that is, we have that value defined today. You may not be able to get everything boiled down to a sentence or a paragraph. At the same time, at the same time, this could be like a working template or a working tool over the weekend, or as your value proposition develops. For us, it's been a constantly changing thing, right? So our value proposition is something as super simple as, hey, we bring a family element to the buying process and the selling process. We make sure our clients are taken care of as if we're family. And that's a super simple sentence, and we're still even developing that ourselves, right? Let's see here, Sandra. So we're going to cover the value proposition, what matters to buyers and sellers, and some of these we're going to do a small deep dive into some of the thinking, where people get their knowledge from or their information from, defining your value proposition. We're going to do some major recaps and then catch up on our daily 10-4, or I should say, our daily 10-4. All right, so a value proposition is a unique, memorable, and persuasive statement that expresses the true value of working with you. It's almost like a 2-minute elevator pitch. You guys ever heard that?
Yep.
You know, there's a story where a gal. Oh yeah, Terry Lynn? You there?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Do these slides?
Yes, we can get them out there. I normally send them to Andrew and then he emails them out. If we're behind on any of them, I'll make sure he gets the last 4 or the last 3 plus this one. And then he'll get them out to everybody.
Oh,
Or if
he'll
you're on
send us
a- if
all
you're
of
on
us.
Yeah, you can also
Yeah,
get through to that too. If you go through kwconnect.com and under training, click under KWU, and then under KWU, you should be able to see Ignite as the second option on the front screen. Otherwise, we'll talk to Andrew about email, these all out together.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. And so I was bringing up a story about Michael Jordan. A gal walks into an elevator, or she gets into an elevator, and then the next stop, Michael Jordan walks in, you know? And she's just mute the entire time on that elevator. And then Michael Jordan had, you know, I guess he knew that she was in sales of some kind, and steps out and says, "Hey, you just missed a big opportunity." And then goes on his merry way. Yeah, so right, I have no idea what business she's in, right? They didn't get that part of the story. But what she ended up doing is that she got really clear and precise on her elevator pitch. We hear it all the time. And, you know, I guess so she works in a situation where she's around athletes or around Michael Jordan. So the next time this happened, she pitched them. I don't know if she actually got the deal, but she pitched them and then, you know, through a follow-up. But the point was like, hey, you have this multi-billionaire and it's Michael Jordan. Like, hey, how's it going? You know, something. But that kind of got her to the element of, hey, what's my 2-minute story? What's my value proposition? How do I boil what I know in my heart and in my mind to be my value? How do I boil it into a way I can share that with somebody on a phone call, in the elevator, in a quick text message, in a logo, in a brand, right? That doesn't have to be Michael Jordan. Whoever the Michael Jordan is in your sphere, that would be a pretty big one in my sphere, you know. Address the specific and special needs of the buyer and sellers in your market, states what you will do for your clients to earn your commission, holds you accountable to high standards. If you are on a Mac, by the way, I believe it's Command-Shift-3 does screenshot, if that helps. I think, or Control-Shift-3. And so we're going to go through. Top agents can easily explain what services they will provide to anyone who hires them, right? So it's just real basic business 101. A lot of times early on, that was like a paragraph for me or an essay. So I would just kind of go through all the stuff we'll cover. Benefits of the value proposition helps your clients understand your value and expertise, protects your commission, builds strong and trusting relationships. Because in the absence of value, money's a thing, right? If there's no value in why they're working with us, you'll see it in other relationships or other business relationships where they say, "Oh, can you discount your commission? Can you give us back 1%? All this and that." When I had no business and this one gal in our sphere was saying, "Well, I will refer you my clients if you give me 1% back." And I was like, well, you might as well just get your own license. And 1% is pretty big. And I didn't know like how you get paid. I was told that we're all paid 6%. So I thought, 1% should be easy, right? But then I found out after the fact that it's like half, and not even half the commission. You know, sometimes we're getting what, 1 or 2 or whatever it is, 2.5. My point is that I didn't know my full value. I couldn't express it, but I knew it wasn't worth giving half or more than half of the commission away to somebody who's not even putting in the time learning the business or the industry or anything like that, right? So we respectively said no. I don't think I was as respectful. I stopped talking to her because I was like, I got to focus my time with people who will find value in having conversations with me.
Yeah.
But God bless her, she's still an awesome person nonetheless. And then you build strong and trusting relationships. So now your audience, even though I may not have had the cool one phrase catch sentence, the people who I was explaining my value to and having like these resource and consultant conversations with on the phone or in person, we have built those strong, trusting relationships. It's not built around commission. It's not built around money per se, in the sense of like, hey, here's in exchange for the deals that have closed. It's more like, hey, let's surprise with gifts. Surprise and delight is kind of the message of the day when it comes to taking care of people within that sphere, within that core group of people there. See, here's some value proposition examples. Airbnb exists to create a world where anyone can belong anywhere, providing healthy travel that is local, authentic, diverse, inclusive, and sustainable. That is really cool. That's the first time I've actually read their value proposition. See, Walmart, everyday low prices for a broad range of goods that are always in stock in convenient geographic locations. Practically everywhere almost. Slack, I'm not sure what Slack is. Slack makes it downright pleasant to work together. Let's see, QuickBooks send invoices in minutes and get paid 2 days faster. State Farm, here to help life go right. Grammarly, great writing, simplified, composed, bold, clear, mistake-free writing with Grammarly's AI-powered writing assistant. So that's just examples of value propositions that kind of boil down what they do, right? I think we more or less have our mission statement down, and then this is KW and market center value, fiduciary market, connect to your value. Let's see, here we are. So the KW and market center value just kind of give us all ideas of what we have available to us. I have access to the collective knowledge and experience of nearly 200,000 agents worldwide. Now, I've never said that before. I've always piggybacked in the market center, you know, like, hey, I've got access to 100 agents here at the office. If you wanted to go crazy and use like the greater scale, you know.
This is one of the things that I always used for my previous life.
Nice.
And basically you want to let them know you can help them anywhere. So I say in my pitch, I can help you locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. There's a KW for that.
That's really good. Hey, you kind of brought up a guy, Brady Sandall. He's the luxury director for Keller Williams International, and he's based out in Palm Springs.
I heard he spoke at your retreat.
Right. Well, to take it a step further, he was really big on knowing other locations. So he does a lot of referral deals in Arizona and other states.
Yeah.
And on that thread, it's almost like, yeah, you can live anywhere in the world, right? And Airbnb is kind of on that side note. And you take that value proposition, like if you ever go to KW Connect, you can find agents in the middle of France, right? Like I connected somebody who speaks English or, you know, bilingual and referred somebody that wants to buy a flat or lease a flat in Paris.
Our name is recognized around the globe.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's pretty phenomenal, you know. So I'm gonna start doing that.
Yeah.
Locally,
Regionally, nationally, internationally. I kind of basically, I don't think you can get any better.
right?
Right?
The world is your oyster. That's awesome. You know, fiduciary on this standpoint, I can point you to reputable resources to determine the best school district for your kids. On a market expert, yeah, I can help you price your home to sell because I'm very tuned into the market at the moment. That is basically our market center, your general network in terms of who you can recommend and put them in front of. Besides Kurt's aha, which is amazing, I'm gonna write that down. Any other ahas that people would like to share, whether here in person or on Zoom?
I like that, what he said, because people are like, oh, you don't just sell in Calabasas. I'm like, no, my office is located in Calabasas, but I'm a realtor for California. But I was limiting myself to California.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Right.
I'm
Right.
in now.
Well, and I'm telling you,
Connected internationally.
a referral fee, in my opinion, an outbound referral fee is the most, it doesn't make it sound very good. It's the least amount of work you're gonna do for
For sure.
a
Yeah.
check.
For sure.
You can make more money on a referral than on a lease.
True.
That's so true.
So-
With no headache.
Yeah, it's an introduction email, it's a follow-up email, you're helping your friend, the agent's getting, I mean, it's a win-win and everyone's so happy. I had somebody I referred from out-of-state move, first time, anyway, the agent has become friends with the client, like during the course, and like helped introduce them into the community. It's a smaller community, and so like everybody won. And who's gonna think, who are they gonna call the next time for anywhere?
Right. You know, and the more I kind of dive deeper into like Opcity charges 35%, right? And then the office takes their 20% or whatever it is, right? So now you're at 55 going out, 45 inbound through the agent. So in essence, when we take an Opcity lead, you know, 45%. But if I take a referral from Kurt and Kurt's from Maryland or whatever, and I do the deal at 35% or 25% referral fee, I'm capped. Like awesome.
Yeah.
Like even more take home. Or let's say you do 35 for Opcity and your cap, but the standard referral fee is 25 to 35%. I'm starting to see people ask me for 30. So I'm now starting to ask people for 30. Right. So I'm like, oh, okay, so we're up the ante a little bit. All right. So, you know, I can see that becoming more of a business And just food for thought, this is straight from Gary Keller, we don't know like how we're gonna answer this, but the value proposition from other offices is, not Keller Williams, but other places is, look, you give us 20% with no cap, but we'll give you leads. You work those leads and you'll make more money than you would have working without the leads with a capping system. So the business model here, just food for thought for those on Zoom, way smarter people than me here. Churn your own database into your own lead aggregate business, right? We all know a minimum of 100 people. We're filling that database up essentially with new contacts on a daily to weekly to monthly basis. We're nurturing all these relationships. Running on Kurt's thread, what if what do they say? It's like 10% is what you want from your database. So if you've got 1,000 contacts over the course of 2-3 years, you should be able to build it to where 10% becomes deals, whether direct sale or referral. So if you got 1,000, you're producing 100 a year in transactions. And if you're not, it's something for speaking to myself more than anyone, it's a goal to work towards that 10%. Well, one agent, you're not going to manage all of it. But if you built a machine where you can produce 100 deals a year and you can farm out 70 and take the best 30, off the 30, you'll make 600 grand. I can tell you that right now. And the other 70, you can farm out those deals to other agents at a 30% clip, right? And so just food for thought of the business, because we're already paying the third party company a monthly fee plus commission split, right? Why can't we be our own Nike in that sense, or our own business with lead aggregation? And now there's other models to follow, but think of what you're building as a database. It's not just something that'll produce sales for you when you make the calls and send the emails and birthday cards. Think of it as a business that you're building and protecting. And it's probably deeper than the value proposition, but the value proposition will one day feed that whole base, because now they know Jessica for fill in the blank, and all the stuff that we build around and insulate. Because our database, when we say our database is our business, or when we say we're the business and our database is the business, those two go hand in hand. We're marketing to that database and we're adding people, adding relationships to it. We're literally like the doctor or the dentist or the CPA or the attorney who one day retires and they sell their book of business, their files, to the person who buys them out, right? You're basically buying not just the contacts, but the relationships that are built in that. So that was my aha from a couple weeks ago. So we're that was in the top of my mind. Anyone else want to share any ahas from this last section?
Oh, I was just gonna say that from the calls that I started making in my contacts in April is when I started. I'm actually getting a few people, little things here and there, like at least 3 people calling me and telling me, oh yeah, I have this person who's interested in this and that. So just little things here and there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's working. So
Think of the compound effect. If all you grew were 3 new leads every week, that goes into your pipeline. I mean, sad to say, I called 2. Well, I called more than 2, but the first 2 people I called, one is reactivated, meaning they want to get back. They're back in the workforce, ready to get pre-approved. The other one, he was a homes.com lead that I just went kind of silent on. He's in the middle of a probate to get his dad's house in Vegas sold. So I guess I'm just on a referral on that, right? So he's doing that, but then he wants to buy a condo here in the West Valley. And then he's in the middle of a dispute where he owns half a house in Windsor Hills and he wants to sell it and figure out how to go about selling it. I don't know how we're going to deal with that. I'm going to learn how to do it, through Jamie and Ben and title and all that stuff and an attorney. But we're right there off the first 2 calls a day, fun time. Now it's off database, right? And one person was referred by another lender or by a past client, and then the other person was a realtor or homes.com lead. So there you go. What matters to buyers and sellers? So this is where we kind of pique people's interest. As a cheat sheet to this, I think real estate talks about itself. Even before I was in real estate was on top of my mind. Even when I was in the insurance industry, people kept asking, "Oh, sorry, you're an insurance or a real estate agent?" Like, no, I'm not. But that's what everybody wanted to talk about before the recession, during the recession, after the recession. But we are going to cover some points here. For buyers, your goal is to find just the right home at the best price in the right time with the least number of problems, right? purpose of real estate for sellers is their goal is to net the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time with the least number of problems. Basic mindset there. Top 10 service areas of the buyer value proposition. Now this is called, like when people ask you, like, hey, why can't I just work with the listing agent? Or why don't I just do that, right? Or why don't I just go through someone from Redfin, or hey, why don't I just go figure out how to do it myself? Well, great. Well, these are the top 10 reasons why you hire a buyer agent. Even if you don't hire me, or decide, or if we choose not to work with each other. Remember, you gotta think like that. Choose not to work with each other. They're not hiring us. We're choosing to work with them, and vice versa. It's needs analysis, pre-qualification or pre-approval. That's when we bring our lending partner, neighborhood information, home search, making an offer, negotiating to buy, vendor coordination. That's all the closing stuff, pre-close preparation, closing, and post-closing. I always tell my clients our communication really kicks off after you get keys to the house. There's so many things that happen with taxes, law changes, insurance changes, market shifts and changes, all of those opportunities, maintenance, all this stuff. We really connect even more so after you get the keys. You think we're talking a lot now, we're gonna talk more after. And that's almost like a silent way to gain permission to call them at least every quarter, check in, maybe ask for a referral or two, all that fun stuff that we get to do. For the seller, similar needs analysis, pricing strategy, property preparation, marketing strategy, receiving an offer, negotiating to sell, selling process, pre-close preparation, closing, post-closing. And if you think a couple steps further down the road, if you figure out how these 10 services for a buyer work and how these 10 services work for you as a listing agent, you can actually replace yourself with an assistant or a VA at any of these points, like neighborhood information, home search, vendor coordination, pre-close preparation, closing, and post-closing. That's a VA assistant right there, right? The needs analysis will always be you, the fiduciary, the rainmaker, right? Pre-qualification or pre-approval, your lending partner, your loan officer partner. Neighborhood information, quite honestly, an assistant can pull the data and get that over to them. Home search, same thing. As a realtor, I go in where it says needs analysis, make an offer, and even that could be delegated out, but I still like the offer. Negotiating to buy. And that's kind of it. Maybe pre-close preparation if you want to include negotiating repairs and making addendum changes to the contract for closing purposes. But yeah.
This reminds me of the book I recently read, Who Not How.
Oh, Simon said it first, yeah.
And they say that you need to find people to do the 70% of the work that you should not be doing so that you can focus on getting more business in.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this is spelling out.
Absolutely. Early on, when it's just you, you might bring on TC, and the TC will help you with technically the sell, the pre-close preparation and closing, right? But even then, it's still a phenomenal way to kind of build in those habits. And once you kind of get your part of it down, it doesn't take years. I mean, we all learn at different paces. Like for me, I needed to hit my head against the wall for like 5 years before I said, oh, yeah, maybe I should follow coaching, get a coach and follow through on some of this stuff, right? For others, it might just take one transaction and it's like, okay, done. You know, running a household with 7 kids. You also have a nonprofit, right?
I was a child care provider for 17 years before that.
There you go. So you basically ran HR, you ran quality, everything, yeah. So in that sense, if you have a template, then you have a generative, the real estate template. So you experience template, then you have like the actual sale experience. Like, oh, okay, well, I can just manage these two together. Now it's a matter of leading with revenue. How do you build the revenue that covers the house, it covers the business, and now you can invest in bringing on help, right? So that's business 101 right there, right? And then same thing with the seller proposition. Now we don't tell them that, hey, I'm gonna delegate all this stuff out, but the needs analysis and pricing strategy, that would be us. Property preparation, you can literally train somebody part-time to do it, or you can even bring on a stager who will just pay their consultation fee, help you prepare the property, right? I paid $200 every time before we brought on our assistant and figured, okay, well, 200 is great. They coach the client through staging and prep. Marketing strategy, you could do that too, and then eventually create a checklist and get that delegated out. receive an offer, you can time it to where you get them all bundled into one day. And that's a system on its own.
How big does your team need to be to perform all those responsibilities?
2 people, a virtual assistant and maybe a live assistant to coordinate. And we had it down to where it was just me and strategic partners, where there was no VA and no like paid help, like full-time, where we have Maureen and Karen now. And there's a story behind that, but you can really do this on your own, or you can, just pay as you go. Like on the listing side, property preparation was really a stager and a photographer. That's what 2 simple things. I would just send, hey, I'm CCing you guys both in an email. This is the next project. Marketing strategy, I was terrible at that, so I can't speak on that. But if you have the mind for it and you can partner with Michael Lewis Marketing Suite, now that we have it here, forward marketing, you can build those. The years prior at the other KW office, we didn't really have those things. We didn't have a go-to person to help make it automated. Here, we actually do have a way to make the marketing relatively automated with a little bit of guidance and direction. Receiving an offer, I systemized that, and that was like, hey, all offers due on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. So I would be able to at least have everything in, and I can review it, present it to the seller, off we go. So those are things that you can kind of set up. And this is where, not to go backwards a little bit, but you guys remember when we were talking about the financial goals, or maybe I'm confusing it with one of our morning calls. Stephanie was going over like, it was like financial why.
Yeah.
And so she said, know what your home expenses are and budgets, know your business line and budget, because 40 grand can go by pretty quick. I'm just, so you make this money all coming in. If you know the house is covered, the business is covered, and you've set aside for reserve, now you can kind of say, okay, hey, what part of the business can I invest in? I'll always say invest in the coach first. Get even part-time max coaching. That'll set up some perspective. So even before you hire somebody, think about investing in coaching first and maximizing and optimizing your personal production and insulating it. And then from that coaching experience, find out what their best practices are. It'll likely be a virtual assistant. Take away 80% of the data entry, because who here is having trouble data entering 10 contacts a day? Okay, yeah, I was hoping someone would say that. That's one of my fail forward things, unless you guys are all great at data entry. That's awesome. But I found that when I would data entry, it would take 2 hours of my afternoon to update contacts, right? So immediately when we hired a VA, I was like, holy crap, I'm getting 2 to 4 hours back of my day, not to spend with my kids, who I already have that time protected. It was like 2 to 4 hours a day of appointments and lead generation and follow up, and I did more business, right? So that's where you'll kind of see where you optimize and go from.
Just curious how you're doing that. Are you like dictating your notes to them, or?
The initial notes, yes. So I'll meet John and Sally, and I will save their contact card, and I will text it over to them, and then voice text, hey Josh, the ball's well, I would say that, please add Josh and Sally to KW Command. Their tags are buyer, seller, exchange, all the way through. And then I'll say, hey, please start them on a smart plan, quarterly call, and please research their property. And then he'll go on to Realist or Revo Gateway or Total Farm, copy and paste all that information onto notes, and then we have it all there. He'll get their home anniversary, start with a home anniversary drip. I just tell them tag them for quarterly call beginning in May or June, whenever, and that's it. And then when it pops up on my calendar, I just go about making my calls, and I just read the notes. Oh yeah, I totally remember them.
Yeah.
Let me make my phone call, and then I add the new notes because I'm already working through Command. So he'll start us off, and then he has his own follow-up protocol where he sends out and follows up the HomeBot, KW app, monthly neighborhood nurture. If we find an address that I didn't get when he finds them on when he does the background search, and he now knows that if he finds multiple properties under both their names or a similar trust, he'll also tag them to the 1031 exchange possibility. So that's the background work I used to do, and I just took, God bless him, he's a smart guy. Yeah, I just took an hour to train him on how we do it, and then he put it into practice. Yeah, so that's Josh for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll find things that you're doing repetitively where you're like, man, if I just took back this 45 minutes, I could meet 5 more clients, or engage 2 more clients, or engage 1 more client. You know, think about it, in our business, 1 engaged client in the meaningful real estate conversation could potentially be an $18,000 commission. You know, it's crazy to say that, but it's so true. Even if it's a buyer, and I don't like to use low numbers, but even if it's a buyer at 900,000 at 2% commission, that's 18,000 capped. Okay, not capped, 16,000 or 17 or 15,000, right? And you're on your way to being capped. So, you know, you kind of weigh it and you're just like, oh, okay, I pay 1,000 for an assistant. I mean, it's 1,300 for an assistant, but 1,300 for a virtual assistant. But I'm gonna be able to make potentially $1 million from 1 assistant, from 1 virtual assistant. You know, you kind of, yeah, it definitely outweighs it. And then there's a whole workup on that. I'm not gonna get too deep into it. But it starts with knowing the value proposition from buyer and seller, because then you can predictably replace yourself on the buyer side. Like, who here, show of hands, at the times it's 10:30 something, okay. Show of hands, who here takes an hour to an hour and a half preparing for a buyer tour?
We're hearing what?
Buyer tour, like you're lining up all your showings for the weekends and all that stuff. Does it take an hour? I don't know, you're calling the agents, you're searching. Hey,
Texting, waiting.
Oh.
It's not that
At
it's.
least an hour.
I was like, oh, you're probably a genius.
Don't fill up, let me know, yeah.
All right, so Kurt, it's 30 minutes to an hour, 1 client, and if you got 5 clients to show on the weekend, it's probably your afternoon prepping. Like, okay, I gotta line up my schedule, their schedule, the showing schedule, the drive time. I say 5, but yeah, the most I've worked with clients, like 5 or 7 different clients, Friday through Sunday, right, spread out. And then you're just like, oh, okay, and then the moment, you know, as it happens, agent will text, oh, we accepted an offer. I'm like, well, which one's that we have to remove? Oh, and I didn't save the agent's number, so I'm getting 909 callbacks and weird area codes calling me. I know it was an agent I called, and it's just like a mess.
Yeah.
It bleeds into your family time on Friday, because you're trying to prep for Saturday, Sunday. Saturday, Sunday's a kill shot because all of a sudden you're all over the map. I brought my kids with me at times, and at least my son would go with me, so we had some father-son time throughout the madness. But you know, it's crazy. But once you kind of get through that first phase of like, I know it's a necessary evil, it's part of the process, you find ways to do better with it, right? Unfortunately, a lot of agents put their properties for sale on Friday, so you kind of, you know, your clients say, yeah, I saw this on Redfin. Why didn't you hit a post on Thursday when I'm doing my prep work? So moral of the story is know kind of the areas of the value proposition, and think like a CEO. Think like, hey, I can replace myself over a period of time. I don't have to be the guy or gal doing this forever, right? I'm just giving you nightmare stuff because, oh man, I can't do this. What buyers want most from their agents, 52% want help to find the right home to purchase. And then you go right through help buyer negotiate the terms of sale, help with the price negotiations, other resources, right? This is from 2021 NAR survey. And then from a factors buyers value when choosing an agent, 44%, or let's see, what was the highest there? 20% agent who is honest and trustworthy, experienced, reputation, and agent. I wish it would break down the other. What did the other mean? But if you just look at 20% being honest and trustworthy and agent's experience, the agent's experience can easily be beaten now by just your network, who you associate with, who you're growing with. See here. What sellers want most, it's pretty almost equal here. Help price home competitively, help seller market home to potential buyers, help sell the home within a specific time frame, help seller find ways to fix up home to sell it for more. If you just took those parts of the pie, those 4 portions, that's nearly 75%. And that's like how you can also build kind of your value proposition, working backwards. I know the office has KW Concierge. So if you really needed the resources to fix up a house, we can go still through KW Concierge in order to do that. Help sell the home within a specific time frame. That's just kind of figuring out their goals and then their motivations in order to price the home accordingly. That would be the 20% one. And then the very last one, or I should say that'd be the first one, help price home competitively, and then helping seller market home to potential buyers. That's just marketing 101 with what we do, right? And then you can go into your unique value proposition. Like I tend to maximize the 21-day coming soon thing, or I'll use that. Someone will flag me at some point until they figure out this whole coming soon piece of the business. But if we take that, we have to sign in the yard, we get a ton of calls, usually a lot of investors, and we leverage the offers. So by the time we go live, we have now a baseline. Like, hey, we have these offers and these looky-loos who came in. Everyone's basically, they don't know it, but they're competing against these offers. And then obviously goes higher, and then we navigate from there. Or if the feedback is so terrible under coming soon, like we had no calls, like we got photos on there, I probably priced it well. Hey, it's a thermometer to let us know maybe we should reduce the price before it goes live on the market, right? So we definitely work on leveraging those pieces.
What is coming soon? Is that something you put in the MLS?
Yeah, technically you're supposed to, whenever you get a listing, it's supposed to be in the MLS within 24 hours, right? You can do an SELMS or SELS where you keep it excluded from the MLS altogether, SEMLS, sorry. But you can keep getting exclusion and then keep it so many days off, but then you really can't have a sign in the yard, you can't put it on your social media. For whatever reason, people have been like tagging me for like all these violations, and I'm like, dude, this is like my 6th one. Rich is like, dude, what's going on? But yeah, you can have a serious violation in that matter.
If you get the listing agreement signed, you don't have to do anything until the actual active date of the listing.
Well, you can, when you get the SELM, you can say, hey, like our standard procedure on our template is 21 days. And then we go to, then we can go to coming soon, then we can go live. And then we leave a little disclaimer there. It's at the discretion of the seller if they want us to start earlier or go live earlier, so they have that option.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, but the 21 days.
But that's how you do it?
Yeah, the 21 days basically gives us time to get the house cleaned up, you know, depending on what the seller needs. Get a stager in there, get photography going. And then
While you're doing that, it's not, you don't have it as coming soon,
no,
because it's too much phone off the hook,
Right.
like insane. right?
exactly.
So then you have, it's almost pre-coming soon.
Yeah, and we kind of, again, people can knock us on that, but it gives our clients time to even digest and think about the deal, you know, because we had a few that backed out of selling, you know, after they had a cool down and realized like, oh no, I don't want to sell right this moment. Like, awesome, set this street, right?
Yeah.
You know, awesome. Okay, until that time, we got the listing, it's not on the active market or coming soon or hold. It's not this weird albatross that agents find when they're searching the MLS.
Right.
You know, so everyone's happy and protected. And then when it is coming soon, we have the sign in the yard, and you know, Zillow can share coming soon because they're a brokerage, right? So people can access, see coming soon and all that fun stuff. And then we get the calls, and you know, it does say call, right now it'll say call Karen for access, or we're limiting access under coming soon, but we'll engage it that way. You know, here's what sellers choosing an agent, reputation of agent is honest and trustworthy, agent is friend or family member. SOI, building that database, never hurts. KW Tech, start with your Sphere, that's a cell phone. And then there's KW Command, God bless Command. Any ahas from that? May have been a couple there. Kind of threw a lot at you guys.
Well, I definitely need to work on my elevator pitch. I mean, I haven't even thought about it in a long time.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
100%.
Terry Lynn, you're not alone. Cindy, you're not
I was
alone.
surprised that friends and family was so low as far as what a seller cares about.
Well, it's not necessarily what they consider. Like, this is very helpful for us because, you know, with the amount of agents on our board, like if you took Greater LA Board of Realtors and Southland Regional and even Burbank and Conejo Valley, we're like 26,000 agents, some crazy number, right? And so you would think 26,000 people, a combined total of give or take 5 million people. You say at least 5 million people live in this area, maybe more. So you would think everybody knows a realtor. Yeah, the market's so wide open. There's so much business. Sonia was saying, I didn't get a chance to share, but she was saying that if the market went down so much, there still would be so much business, to put it in perspective, 1% of the valley, of the sales done in the valley is what Stephanie the Taco does.
She has listings like on her social media.
Right,
every day.
it's
She pops up a new listing.
absolutely, but as gigantic as she is,
Yeah.
let's say she's our #1 in units and volume, right? And she's only represents 1% of our market share.
Wow.
And that's a ton of business, that's a ton of business for her and 8 assistants, right? That's, we can totally do like way more, right? But for 9 people, they have 1% of the market. What's 1%? That's 220 deals for her a year, right?
It's definitely so small.
And she is the world champion. Like she's top 3 every year, right? Give or take. And you tell her one, she's like 2, if not 1. And in the world, when you kick in remaps and Century 21 biology and all that stuff.
She has such a killer process too.
Yep.
I actually had her listed, she was my listing agent on my premarital, when I was married, when I was going through a divorce, and her process is amazing.
What is her process?
We're only talking about processes, like please.
Share her process.
You know what?
Who are you guys talking about?
Stephanie the Taco and her
Oh.
process.
I actually took a bunch of notes, and at one time I thought, I should put together a presentation to give to agents on this.
Yes.
And I never did it, because I didn't know how it would be received, but.
We will, we'll take it. We won't hit record.
Let me actually give some thought to it over the
Okay.
weekend, because what I did, and I realize now it was kind of a faux pas, but I was a lender, and it was early in my career, and I had this situation where I had a house to sell, and I thought, wow, this is a really good opportunity for me. And so I called on about, I don't know, at least a half a dozen, and I decided I wanted to go for the whales, right?
Wow,
So
there
I
you
went
go.
after a half a dozen, hit them all up, and I said, hey, I'm interviewing for a listing agent. I happen to be a lender, would you be interested in meeting with me? And, I just want to know ahead of time that, if you're open to having a relationship, a lending relationship with me, I'd love to meet with you. And so they all said yes. They all did their presentations. They were all really good and different. And of course, I could only pick one. I picked Stephanie the Taco. And then I wrote a nice handwritten letter to each of the others saying, I made another decision, and you did a great job, and I really appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. And all the ones that I said no to.
That's really nice.
Yeah, well, they all said, they don't, leave me alone, don't, they hate me now.
Jerks.
But-
Man, so you did make the right thing, Stephanie,
Yeah.
because I think Stephanie's also talked about she doesn't get every listing,
I've heard her say.
and she still follows up with them. They just come back and do business with her in a different way, in a different light,
But I would be happy to share that with you. I just want to gather, because it's been a while now, so I want to gather my thoughts and remember some of the
Yeah,
points.
I have very limited experience, but the sellers that I met who are, her sellers on the listing, they say, and agents would think of this as negative. I never thought of this as negative. They said, yeah, we met Stephanie at the appointment, and the rest of it is routine. And agents heard that and said, oh, see, that's her weakness. She's not with them. And I thought, man, that is
Her team
genius.
is fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a gal who handles like all the negotiating on the listing side. She's what I call a great wall, right? Nothing gets past her. She doesn't give anything away. That's what you kind of want to do on the listing side. So to me, I think we're bringing her up because there's so much business.
Yeah.
Even if the market shifted and she's only 1%, there's so much more business available, right? It's just unbelievable what we have here. I'm defining your proposition. We're going to fly through this. Identify your knowledge, attitudes, skills, and beliefs. And that's something as simple as taking 2 sheets of paper and on one page writing all of your equities on one side, your knowledge, attitude, skills, and beliefs. Transform the value and provide and the value of KW in your market center into the beliefs for your clients. Build your value proposition. So like taking Hertz hey, we're not only local, we're also regional, national, international. We have literally Keller Williams really is the only real estate company that happens to be a tech company. So when we're not a publicly traded company, so it's not gonna make news. But when you think of, PXE as the leading source in tech, they're not a tech company. They're an override company that just happens to override in real estate. They have companies that attach themselves as their tech providers. Rheology, their collection of companies partner with tech vendors, right? Keller Williams did the same thing with eEdge and other aggregates, and then eventually said, hey, once the contracts are over, we're just gonna launch our own tech support. Compass also, they partner with companies that provide their tech services. So they're basically vendor members or vendor customers, or customers to those vendors, right? So when you think of the big time value proposition that Keller Williams offers, God, family, business, our mission values all the way through, our mission, vision, values, belief system, and perspective, and then you take into account your knowledge, attitudes, skills, and beliefs, which is technically unlimited. When you think about it, because of your greater network to this office and other places, you can really boil that down to, for me, I boil down to being a resource consultant for all of your real estate needs and goals, right? That covers, goal setting, that covers goal setting to the now, market at the moment. And that's my quick couple word sentence, right? Obviously it could get better, it could sound more cooler if I'm talking about Jordan, right? So, value proposition, again, identify your knowledge, attitude, skills, and beliefs, and also take in from what you're currently doing now. I mean, you ran a daycare or childcare facility for 17 years. We have, to me, like people who run a household, that's probably the biggest company you can ever run. Now the numbers are probably skewed because this was in 2012 or 2011 when we heard what's the value of a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home mom, right? Like what would they be paid if we can extrapolate all the things that one parent does?
$1 billion.
How much? How much did you say, Carolyn? $1 million?
And no
Okay.
sick
$1
days.
billion.
And no sick days, okay. So when they boiled it out, this was 10 years ago, right? So adjusted for inflation, all that stuff, it's crazy to say. But they boiled it down and said, hey, starting salary would be $300,000 a year.
Wow, I'll take it.
And I would argue that, a CEO isn't just paid a salary, they're also paid bonuses, and with inflation now, that really is $1 million a year position. So my wife's like, I'm not making any of that, like this is crazy. This is like not even taking into account inflation. But my point is that, we've all ran multi-million-dollar companies, we just didn't attach a thing to it. It was just life. And we didn't complain, we just did it. You guys did it, my wife did it. So I did it. I'm not as great as she did it though. Step two.
Philip, your
Yeah.
wife wants a raise after this.
She doesn't watch the recording, so she'll never hear it.
So I'm gonna make sure she gets it.
That's the one. Transform the value you provide and the value of KW in your market center and the benefits for your clients. Step 3, build your value proposition statement. And then we're supposed to go into role play. We're not going to do that right this moment. However, on Wednesday when we get back, our biggest goals are, besides hitting our numbers and contacts, I would like to see what people have to say about their value proposition. And it's totally cool if you copy. I copied and pasted early on. I was like, oh, that sounds good. I'll sell your home at the least amount of hassle in the least amount of time for the most amount of net proceeds. High five, sounds good to me.
I actually really like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. It doesn't have to be super robust. I'm just saying, like, hey, over the years it will change. For my wife and I, it's slowly changing, right? We're adding different elements to it. Early on, it was, hey, Cindy, you get me the whole transaction, right? Then I realized, like, yeah, this is too crazy. We started replacing ourselves, so I no longer say that, but I take the Stephanie DeTonco approach where it's like, hey, we're going to be here for the key points, the key moments that will make or break your financial goals. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. But I put it that way because it isn't it true? Like, hey, for the first meeting, presenting offers, negotiating repairs and appraisal if we didn't cover that in the counters, and then anything that comes out of left field. Those are 4 or 5 points of a transaction And that allows us to meet more people, delegate out, build a sustainable long-term business, right? So any ahas for that before you guys jumped out to Caravan and all the fun stuff?
And where I'm gonna meet the next client.
Ooh,
who's
there you
gonna
go.
sell, yeah,
That's it.
all his Mickey houses
Hey.
with me.
You know, if you're shopping at Nordstrom's, the discretionary income that you would walk in with, yeah, I mean, I get it, maybe you buy a tie, you don't have to be like super wealthy to buy a tie or a pair of clothes. But sometimes we'll walk through the mall to get into like that part of the mall to get into like the regular people mall, I guess, but we'll walk through there and I'll see people with like bags of stuff. And I'm like, dude, that's 20 grand of
Yeah,
clothes. And I'm just throwing it out there. There's a guy, Fareed. He has a brother who sells high-end vehicles and he sells high-end art. He's an art broker. And I thought, well, that's crazy. So if someone can put $400,000 down for a car, just not even finance, just buy it all cash. And then they're already going to you because they need to furnish their house with art. And they're paying you another $5,000 to $10,000 for art. Like, holy cow, where are they stashing all this stuff? I was like, that's why I got that license. And I started thinking like, man, that's an incredible market to break into. Granted, they bought their home. It's more of a leading indicator, it's a lagging indicator of what they sell. Like people will buy that stuff after they bought the house, right? But now you build a relationship, they're part of your database. The turnaround time is 7 to 10 years anyway. And in 10 years, these properties appreciate for wherever they appreciate for. Now you're selling a $40 million house in Brentwood or whatever. And so I'm not saying wait that long to free, but you keep building those relationships. And these are people that already come to their art shows, their car galleries and all this stuff. It's like a normal part of what they do. So guys online, keep on crushing it. We're gonna keep on our focus on conversions, 10 real estate conversations, contacts added, handwritten notes. We'll dive deeper into that next Wednesday. The 10-5-1 social media engagement, enrichments. Enrichments are kind of cool. This is where you're listening to Think Like a CEO with Gary Keller. I've been replaying those recently. I didn't want to throw everything at you at one time, but if you can plug into hearing some of those podcasts, that helps a ton. We'll start hitting on appointments, agreements, and closing next week. So as we go through, we're going to start talking about how are we going to convert some of those conversations, which of those have converted to lead follow-up, and then how are we going to convert the lead follow-up into appointments and into agreements and eventually closes and all that fun stuff leading into bold. So thank you guys for jumping on with us. I should probably hit stop recording and